Today's message. We're going through a series called Blessed. We are in week 3. We were in week 3 last week, and we talked about this passage. So Matthew chapter 5, going through the Beatitudes, which means blessedness. So Jesus basically is saying these are the characteristics of someone who is blessed. Okay? And I think when we look at these characteristics, when we look at this list of things, these do not describe blessings by which we want, I think, by and large. But these are what Jesus says a blessed person does, and how they live. And so what this passage from Matthew chapter 5, we read the passage where it says, "Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God." This is a big deal. Okay, this is a big passage. I think that this is a pivotal one, okay? Because I think we've as Christians, okay, if we're honest with ourselves, do we see God moving in our daily lives? Do we see God? I see you moving in my family. I see you moving in my career. I see you moving in my finances. I see you moving as I minister to my neighbors. As I do my life, I see you at work. Do we do anything that God has to move in our lives? Do we live in such a way that God has to move in our lives, that we see Him move? Like, wow, I don't know. I didn't know how that was going to come together. I didn't know how that was going to happen, but God moved in my life. I think it's an important question we need to ask ourselves. And the question is if I don't see God moving in my life, why? Why? See, I think there's a few examples that we need to look at, because this idea of seeing God move will be like, well, you know what, we're just in a difficult season, and sometimes I know God's in work, but I just don't see Him moving. Okay, there's a difference between a difficult season and seeing God move in your life. There's a massive difference. Here's my reasoning for this, okay? We look at Joseph, okay? Joseph's sold into slavery by his brothers, okay? Joseph's a slave in Potiphar's house, okay? Joseph is in a bad season of life, right? A lot of bad seasons kind of together. But God blesses his hands. He sees God moving in his life, right? He goes from a slave, from the bottom of the totem pole in this house, to running the house as a slave, okay? God blessed his hands. He saw God moving through him in the season. Terrible season, awful season. I'm a slave. It doesn't change that I am a slave. But what it does say is, God, I can still see you moving in my life. You cannot be Joseph and still live encouraged and still do the things you're doing if you do not see God moving in your life and blessing your hands. And Joseph did. Then he stood up for what was right. He gets thrown into prison. Man, another bad season of life. And yet God does the exact same thing. He blesses his hands. He sees God move through him in this season. So the question I have, we can look at Paul, right? Paul's in prison. Paul's shipwrecked. He's bitten by a snake. God still does miracles and moves through him even in awful seasons. Paul would never say, I don't see God moving in my life. So the question is it just a bad, poor choice of words that we use? I just don't see God moving. Or am I in a difficult season? Now, if I do not see God moving, the question is, why not? Because even in difficult seasons, I should see God moving and blessing my hands. And if you're not, why? Well, Jesus would say, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. So the answer is, according to this verse, according to Jesus, that if I am not seeing God move in my life, my heart is not pure. What do we mean by pure in heart? I'm talking about salvation. I'm talking about the way that you live, how you respond. Do you live a life? Is your heart pure? Well, you're like, well, I'm human. I can't be perfect. Right? Because, you look at this idea. If I take one red sock and throw it in with white clothes in the laundry, I'm going to taint that laundry. If I'm not perfect, I'm imperfect, right? If I don't get a perfect score on a test, my test is not perfect. So I can't achieve that. And I think the problem is we misunderstood. It's not really up to us. We have a part to play in it. But the thing that we must realize is that we must try. That we are supposed to put forth an effort. Here's the thing. I used this example on Sunday. I said, you know what? If you are an athlete and athletes put forth this massive effort, I'm going to work hard. I'm going to get up early and I'm going to put in the work because I want to be, whatever sport I'm in, I want to be the greatest of all time in my industry, in my sport. I want to be the GOAT. So I'm going to put in the effort. I'm going to do the research. I'm going to work my tail off to do that. And the thing is even knowing that maybe I might not even be good after I put that kind of effort. I might be just average. I might be above average. But to be the likelihood that even with me putting in all of this effort, that I will be the greatest of all time is unlikely. And yet they wake up early. They train themselves hard. And yet I think, sadly, we as Christians go, well, first of all, grace just covers it all. And so I don't even have to really try. But I can't be perfect, and therefore I won't even try. I won't even try. I know I'm going to go off the handle. I'm going to get angry. I know that I'm not going to be compassionate. I know that I'm going to say some things that I wish I didn't say at times. But I'm just human. So what does it matter? But an athlete says, you know what, I'm going to strive for the best. I'm going to do whatever I can to be the best in that. And the Bible addresses this. It says, you know what, an athlete runs. He runs for a race. But he runs for a race where the prize is perishable. It will fade away. We as Christians, we come to faith in God and we realize the purpose for our life is to run our race for God, to glorify Him. And we run with the intent at the end of this to win a prize that will last forever. So the question is, why aren't we even trying? Ephesians says that we have become darkened in our understanding, that we have become hardened in our hearts. He's not talking about secular people. He's not talking about people outside the faith. He is talking to Christians, and he is saying that we have become desensitized to what is good. Why? Because our hearts have become hardened, because we have welcomed the darkness, that we have become used to it. That's what Ephesians 4, 18, 19 talks about. So for us today, if we do not see God moving in our lives, maybe it's because our hearts have become tainted. Here's an analogy for that. So if I'm wearing my glasses are the perfect prescription for my eyes, so that I can see to the max potential that I have. Okay, but my glasses get fogged or smudged and dirty. Does that change the prescription? Does that change what my glasses are capable of doing? Not technically. My glasses are still the same subscription. They still have the same ability to see, but they've been tainted or fogged or smudged, and therefore it has affected how I can see. I think the same is true with our hearts. It's not that our hearts, God hasn't come in and transformed our lives, that he's not washed us white as snow, but that we have become tainted by how we live. That's why we talked about what is the characteristics of being blessed. It says to hunger and thirst for righteousness, to live rightly. If I want to live with a pure heart, to live right, I must realize why I am here. And why I exist is unlike a lot of worship songs, unlike a lot of things that we think about. I am not here. God is not here to be a part of my life, to bless me. To God needs me. He chases me down. He can't live without me. No. We've missed the point. I am here to bring honor and glory to God. I was created like a puppet. Not in the sense of he's in there manipulating me, but I was created by him to glorify him. And when we think that God is here to be a part of my life, we have it backwards. I was created for God, to bless God, to bring people to God. And when we realize that changes how we should live. For example, if I choose to, and I say, you know what, I want to make my wife happy. I want to please my wife. I want to do something that makes her happy. It's pretty easy to do. I find somewhere to get the kids out of the house and make her favorite meal and say, you know what, I'll give you she enjoys back massages and so I do those things. If I consciously want to make my wife happy, then I will look for things that make her happy, and then I will do them. Now, here's the thing. I'm not great at that all the time. Sometimes I do a great job, and then other times I do a terrible job at that. But the point is I have to realize, in this marriage, my responsibility is to love my wife as Christ loved the church. That's my responsibility. And then when I realize my role, then I look for ways to do that. See, so the question is if you don't realize your role in this relationship with God, that my job is to please God, to glorify him. If you don't realize that, then you need to realize that. And then the question is well, what's the playbook? How do I do that? Well, what brings God glory? What makes God happy? Read the Word of God. Read the Bible. The Bible lays out for you what makes God happy. So, wrap this all up. I was created to honor and love God. That is the reason that I exist. Not that I will be perfect in that, but when I strive to please God, when I live righteously, when I am not tainted by the things that displease God, when I do not give in to the things that the world says are good, but God says aren't, I'm pleasing God. And if I want to be blessed, if I want to see God moving in my life, then I must have a pure heart. How do we do that? The Bible lays it out for us. I can't do that. I can't be perfect. No one is but God. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. Now, I'm not talking about works. We're not trying to earn anything here. The point is, I am here to glorify God and make him happy. And when I realize that, that is going to change the way that I live. And my heart will become pure, not because I don't make mistakes, but that I am striving every day to bring him glory. And that I am going to run from things that don't. So even in difficult seasons, you will see God. Joseph, there's a difference between saying, well, I'm in a difficult season, I don't see God. Well, even Joseph, in his difficult seasons, saw God bless his hands and move through him. So if you look at your life and you say, well, I don't see God moving in my life, there is a problem. And the solution is to realize your role, why you're here. And that will change everything. And then you will see God move in your life. So that's week 3 of our Blessed series. I encourage you to, if you haven't watched that, go back and watch it. If you have, get ready for next week. We will see you